welcome to tonight's episode of Beyond Focus TV. I'm your host, Lydia Patel, and as always, I have a very special guest for you, KHARI Edwards, who's the Executive Vice President of External Affairs of Brookdale Hospital. He's our guest right here for the next 30 minutes, so stay with us. You're watching Beyond Focus TV. Beyond Focus TV allows you to discuss contemporary topics affecting the Caribbean people on both a national and local level. The show features informed guests who offer insight, debate, and evaluate various issues. Beyond Focus TV builds on the station's mission to provide useful information to the Caribbean people in New York and abroad. Beyond Focus TV, where our viewing audience can get educated, informed, and empowered. Welcome back. You're watching Beyond Focus TV. I'm Lydia Patel, sitting here with KHARI Edwards, who's the Executive VP of External Affairs at Brookdale Hospital right here in Brooklyn. So that's really nice to have something local.
Yes, thank you for having me.
In the house. So KHARI, welcome to Beyond Focus.
Thank you so much.
It's great to have you here. Definitely you come highly recommended from someone else who's in our family. Sharon Devonish Leeds. We've had some great recommendations. And today we're really going to let our viewers know just exactly all the good things that Brookdale's been working on. I want to say Brookdale has come a long way.
Yes, we have.
Definitely has changed. It is not the same. It's not even just a hospital. It's a whole facility.
Yes, we are a community partner. That's the way we try to look at the hospital in itself. Yeah.
And it's a great term. I didn't know. That's why I was like, I didn't know how to the proper terminology for it. I'm like, it's not just the hospital anymore. Brookdale has really evolved into so many different things in the community.
Yes.
And I guess that's where your role comes in.
Yeah, so part of my role is to, when I originally got there, was to handle government relations and community relations. Brookdale's had at least 20 to 25 years of very bad publicity, and when I came in, not only is it a highly political hospital, but the community looked at it as just a dumping ground for healthcare. So my job was to ease the relationships with the elected officials, as well as start to change the process and the perception of what Brookdale is today.
Absolutely. And like I said, you see the changes. You definitely see small steps.
Yes.
You know, you have to take small steps in the right direction. But let everyone at home know a little bit about you and your background. KHARI Edwards, who are you aside from Brookdale? How did this all get started?
So without giving you my full bio, I am the child of two Caribbean immigrants, one from Trinidad, my mother, and my father from Guyana. I spent most of my life in politics. My first job was with Assemblyman Nick Perry back in 1996, if I remember correctly. Since that time, I worked for a congressman, senator, comptroller, governor. I was fortunate enough to end up in healthcare through a conversation that the governor had with my boss at the time about the healthcare crisis in Brooklyn. So I took on that role from looking at a policy standpoint, and at the time that I was transitioning, Brookdale and SUNY Downstate offered me a job, and my children actually go to school in Brownsville, so it was kind of easier to say yes to Brookdale. So I've been at Brookdale for 3 years now.
Okay, great. So that's a really interesting background. You came definitely on the political side. Do you think your upbringing had anything to do with that? Did your family, was that just a personal interest that you kind of got geared into politics? Because most young dudes in Brooklyn, you know, it's sports, it's the entertainment, it's the rapper. You chose politics.
Yeah, I had this weird, first off, my mom was heavy in politics, but I had this weird desire to see what the other side dealt with. So we see in politics a lot of the end results, but working for politicians, you got to see, you know, if an elderly woman called and she wasn't getting her Social Security checks, or if Con Ed cut somebody's lights off, or if it was just a speed bump needed in the block so that kids could cross. You know, your politicians do that for you, and a lot of people don't see that. They see all of the bad things, but when you really work for folks that care about the community, it kind of changes your focus, and it makes you want to do the same thing. So there have been many nights, everything from Superstorm Sandy to, you know, getting enhanced identifications for, you know, immigrant drivers. There's so many things that politicians do or government officials do that we don't say thank you enough for, or we don't even realize. But so that's what kind of got me in that kind of interest of helping folks.
And not to deviate from the Brookdale aspect, but that's kind of an interesting point that you brought upon, because, and I was looking at you when you said that, like, if you need a speed bump, if you need this, I'm sitting there like, really? because I know when the snow comes, I think Gates Avenue is one of the last places to
Right.
get
Right.
plowed. But we do have a voice, and sometimes people, and maybe that would be another, since you have such a great background in this, that could be another episode by itself, where we really kind of school us on how can we really reach that local level of government, because we know they're accessible, we know they're there,
Right.
but what's the liaison? How do you correlate to get what I need into your ears and then ultimately get a resolution?
I mean, at this point, it's everything from social media. It's the power of numbers. If Gates Avenue is not being plowed during the snowy times, and only one person is complaining about it, they're going to go to where more people are talking
Of
about it.
course.
So there are a lot of things you could do. You could join your local community board. You can start your own block association, or really, the easiest grassroots way is to just get a letter circulated around the community to say, I think your elected official may be Robert Carnegie. Listen, you know what? Every time it snows, there are 30 people on this block that don't have this, and send this letter to him right before it snows. And then usually what ends up happening, they pay attention to that, because it's a catch-22. It's a give and take. These are the folks that vote. These are also the folks that advocate for you. These are the folks that put you in office and take you out. And sometimes it gets lost. But, those who make the most noise tend to get the biggest results. But then there are also the other side of them. And this is where I really love politics. This is for those one or two people that call who don't know the process, who don't know how to get what they want. And that's what I think makes a great politician. You listen to that, the elderly lady who doesn't have food and wants a little help. That's where you use your resource, your name, your title to pick up the phone and say, I'm city council person, or I'm assembly person. There's a young lady or there's an older lady who's not getting this. And agencies respond, whether it's the police, whether it's housing, they respond because you're elected official in that office, in that capacity. So it's a very powerful position. It should be taken with a lot of understanding. And
Absolutely.
when you put people first, you'll see a lot of great things.
And I see that, and I see you generally have a passion for it. So I think when the role and the opportunity came up, tell us about that moment when you decided to accept the position at Brookdale. I know, of course, your family being, in the area also helped, but how was that real transition now going into healthcare and bringing those two together, the politics and now working in a highly political hospital, really, that was on the forefront for many years?
Yeah, well, it was a simple transition for me. When you talk about maybe you have 5 or 6 hospitals in Brooklyn that are really struggling, and the governor says, well, you know what, I think 2 may close if something's not done. And then you go into a hospital that serves probably the largest catchment of folks. They get a gunshot wound in Brookdale Hospital every 36 to 42 hours. And they have
I didn't know it's that high.
Yeah, we just did a major gun program there called It Starts Here, bringing children into the morgue, trying to show them, look, gun violence is real. On a Memorial weekend, we could have up to 9 gunshot victims. And what came into that standpoint was, well, then you service 400,000 folks in your primary area, and then another 600,000, and we're the closest to the Queens border. So we really cover healthcare on the entire East Brooklyn border. And then we have 3,900 employees. Like you mentioned to me, you're from a Caribbean background. 98% of our employees are from a Caribbean background.
Absolutely.
So it's kind of like your auntie and your cousins and people that work hard to provide for their families. You don't want to see that hospital close. So it became now that I was the senator or the advocate or the assembly person for that hospital. And then we have great partners, Senator Prasad, Assemblyman Nick Perry, Assemblywoman Latrice Walker, Senator Parker.
Hold that thought. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back, guys. Don't go anywhere.
Thank you.
We'll be right back. back. You're watching Beyond Focus TV. I'm Lydia Patel, sitting here with KHARI Edwards. So, KHARI, before we took a break, we were talking about Brookdale and how important it was when sometimes they'd be at risk of hospitals closing. And like we're saying, 98%, which I knew was a high percentage of island people who work there. Didn't know it was 98%.
Yeah, it's the melting pot of the Caribbean, so to speak. Yes.
And you got every island in there.
Every island.
Trinis, Jamaicans, Haitians, Grenada's in there, Lucians are in there. I mean, it's crazy.
So when we do a potluck, it's the greatest potluck ever. It's an amazing place, and the part of what I was saying earlier, we have elected officials that really care about this hospital, and they do everything in their power to make sure that we're recognized properly, that the union is taken care of, and so it was really a natural process. My first boss, Nick Perry, he is the assemblyman that represents Brookdale, and you call him. We got brand new doors because of him, and we never had sliding doors before. We used to open the door, for years. So when you have a woman in labor coming through, you have to open the door, push them through. Now it's sliding doors thanks to him. So I really am very appreciative to them as elected official people who do care for the hospital. And we're doing a lot of great work. We're changing a lot. I smile about it because it's a lot of work, but we're doing a good job.
Well, tell us a little bit about the marketing strategy that you guys have implemented right now, because it's a whole team, not just yourself. It's a whole team that works on the branding and the imaging of the hospital and really trying to shift everything in a positive direction.
Right. So we do a lot with a little. And when you say it's a whole team, you're absolutely correct. We not only do we have a strong Department of External Affairs, but every department that we reach out to, they come out. Right now what we're doing is something called Brookdale at Your Door, where we're bringing the hospital out to senior centers, explaining to seniors everything from how they fill their pharmacy prescriptions to fall prevention for trauma. That's part of our marketing. We're now marketing as the leader of healthcare in East Brooklyn, because really there's no other hospital in East Brooklyn. When you think about everything from a gunshot wound to the dentist, think about Brookdale. We do it all. We deliver babies, we save lives. Our CEO had a foresight to open up an oncology department dealing with cancer. A lot of the folks that showed up in our emergency room, stage 3, stage 4 cancer, because they weren't getting the care they need. And, most of us as people can't afford Sloan Kettering or can't travel all the way out to Manhattan. So we've opened up a real radiology oncology center that is doing fabulous work. So we're looking at the way healthcare is going, but we're also making sure that we take care of the folks that need it. Another thing that's very important for your viewership is to understand primary care is huge.
Yes.
If you go see your doctor on a normal basis, you will not end up in the emergency room. And that's where people get lost and they don't understand. You get in the emergency room, you're waiting 4, 5, 6, 7 hours.
The bill alone for an emergency room bill will send you back to the emergency room.
Exactly. And then you're thinking somebody's coming by in a car accident, somebody's coming with a guy with a gunshot wound, and you have a sprained ankle, you have a cold that could have gotten taken care of. We lose sight of that. So what we also did at Brookdale, we opened up an urgent care center right across the street. And part of my former employee, who I got to give her a lot of credit for, created this balance of saying, what's urgency versus emergency? So that's part of our marketing plan, trying to educate the community on what's urgency. If you got a flu, if you got a sprain, go to the urgent care, 15, 20, 30 minutes. If you have an emergency, heart attack, car accident, go to the emergency room where, so once you start to educate the community, and I think that's the biggest thing.
That's really a big thing, and I would like to let everyone definitely know about that, because you keep seeing these city MDs, urgent care, they're popping up everywhere, especially in Brooklyn. I live in Bed-Stuy, and you see a couple of them around on Fulton Street, and I've used them. I have. Felt like a little chest cold. Not enough for me. I wasn't sick enough to go to the ER.
Right.
But I knew I needed to get treatment.
Yeah.
And I went to urgent care.
And you got seen and things were...
The wait was barely a half hour, maybe 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Gave me my prescription, went across the street to Walgreens, I was good.
Yeah, the only problem I have is that the markets got saturated with that. So that, like you said, there's one on every corner now.
Yeah.
So it's, because everybody wants to make money off of healthcare. But it's